no dilly-dallying. I know you read the title. I know you know what Lethal Company is. This game feels like it materialized out of literally nowhere and just rocketed its way to the top of YouTube's recommended page and Steam's bestsellers. And then finally, into my infinite library of games that I haven't played enough to justify the cost. Luckily, Lethal Company managed to be one of the somewhat rare exceptions, and I do believe I've gotten my money's worth from the roughly 20 hours that I ended up putting into the game, even if it isn't one that I see pulling me back too much in the future. At the absolute least, Lethal Company as an indie game is inspiring in the success that it managed to achieve for the developer Zeekers.
I got one.
Being a solo developer and managing to not only create a multiplayer game with a VoIP, genuinely good atmosphere, and decent replayability with friends, and then actually getting so much recognition that you outsell Call of Duty is pretty freaking nuts. Well, maybe less nuts these days, but as a computer science major, you have my respect. Now, of course, there are several reasons why the game was able to skyrocket in popularity the way it did in the first place, which I think is highlighted best in most of the viral clips that you see of the game. It's fucking hilarious. Lethal Company takes the well-liked game mechanic of proximity chat and combines it with a genuinely good atmosphere of uncertainty to make for an experience that can range from goofy haha funny or total panic
Metal sheet here.
That's an awful idea.
I died.
Hello?
to an actually scary horror game.
What is that?
Hey, get over.
Oh, get out of here!
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What is that? What is that? What is that? I don't know.
I mean, come on, look at the assortment of creatures that they throw at you. We've got Papa Roach, Schizophrenic Delusions, that one Isekai protagonist,
Hey.
Facehuggers,
No, hit me.
SCP-173, and many more. We have so much variety that we have a monster that you look at to survive, and a monster that you don't look at to survive. Yeah, you don't want to be caught with both of these in the same room. Speaking of rooms, while there are a set number of moons that you'll travel to while under the employment of Deadly Corporation, each facility is randomly generated with an assortment of rooms and hallways. This adds an extra bit of longevity not only to each individual level, but the game as a whole, and it also helps to keep the rather simple core gameplay loop a little more rewarding. Don't get me wrong though, it's still very simple. You get in, collect scrap, die, and repeat until eventually you don't make the next quota. To an extent, I would say that the focus of the game is more on the player's reactions than the actual gameplay, especially with how the in-game chat is designed. Hearing your friends' voices muffle as they sink into quicksand or a snare flea wraps around their head makes for great immersion, or comedy, depending on the circumstances. Hearing a scream, or worse yet, complete silence, before turning around to see that the companion that was with you is now missing gives chills almost every time.
Stetson?
I mean, really, this game is so good at being multiplayer horror that its peak player count is more than double that of Phasmophobia. Yeah, you know, that game that has 500,000 reviews on Steam and was immensely popular in 2020. Phasmophobia and Lethal Company both have one big thing in common. They're co-op horror games. And do you know what type of person loves a co-op horror game? Good old gaming YouTubers. And streamers. Heck, I'm literally making a video about it right now. Not that it's going to be throwing anyone in the direction or anything, but the point still stands. Popular people play the game and make funny videos on it, and it gets people interested far more than would have been in the first place. It's free advertising. I think the only thing more enticing than seeing other people having fun playing Lethal Company is its price point. Lethal Company, which is a relatively complete experience with decent entertainment value, only costs $10. While it is, of course, an indie game, and as such would be expected to cost less than any big names, it's still incredibly cheap during a time where the average price of a new release is around $60. Because of that, when people saw people really enjoyed the game and seemed to be having a lot of fun, they probably didn't think nearly as much about whether or not it would be worth to pick it up. At least, that's what I thought. And, you know, it's a cheap, solid multiplayer horror experience that I don't think many people will regret buying. That being said, I'm not super confident in Lethal Company's staying power, in terms of popularity at least. While it's been going really strong for the few months it's been out, with how simple the gameplay is and the relatively small amount of content for a game that appears to be mostly finished, I don't see it lasting too much longer without updates from the creator or an active modding community. Mods have already contributed to the game quite a bit, especially ones like More Company, which lets you play with more players and much, much more chaos.
If you want someone, you take me! You take me! Take me! Take me! He wants me.
Luckily, it does seem as though the developer intends to add more content to the game, given that it's still listed under Early Access on Steam, and it received a holiday-themed update earlier in December. But if they are truly working on it all by themselves, I wouldn't blame them if they eventually slow down or just stop working on it altogether to move on to other things. Regardless, if you have $10 to spare or some friends to play with, I would absolutely recommend grabbing Lethal Company and giving it a shot as a hilarious horror experience.
It's okay. Oh shit!
No!
What happened?
He
Did he
didn't.
fall?
He didn't make the jump.
Damn. Did
We're
he
not-
have the strap?
Yeah.
Hey, if you're still watching at this point, then hold your horses, because you may want to hear what I'm going to say next. May or may not have noticed, but the channel hit 100 subscribers after my last video. Now, I was halfway tempted to go on a long-winded speech about how I'll never forget the OGs, and, when I make it big or whatever, but instead I figured I'd live by the phrase, actions speak louder than words. So, for one of the people watching this right now, I'm going to buy you, yes, you, a copy of either Lethal Company, the game this video is about, if you weren't paying attention, or Project Zomboid, since that what my last video was about, and it did really well, which, go give that a watch if you're interested. All you have to do, hit that link in the description and put in your information so that I can actually gift you the game of your choice, and then I'll use some random wheel spinner thing or whatever to decide a winner in as fair a way as possible. Since video games are something that I have enjoyed for much of my life here on this planet, I've toyed with the idea of buying at least one person who hasn't played the game I'm making a video on a copy of that game so that they can try it for themselves without burning a hole in their wallet. Since a lot of viewers on YouTube are kids or people who don't want to spend more money than they have to, I just thought it'd be a neat thing to do. Yeah, anyways, just go do that, and I'll make a shorter community post about who the winner is, and I'll get you the game. That's about it. See ya.